Welcome to Year 8 Music. Today, we're exploring the Romantic era, a time when music stopped following strict rules and started focusing on extreme human emotions, from terror to pure joy. We'll look at why the world of music changed, including the shift toward individual expression, rebellion against authority, and the rise of the middle class. As emotions grew larger and more rebellious, the orchestra had to upgrade. Think of the transition from a sports car to a monster truck. Orchestras expanded to over 100 players, introduced new, massive instruments like the tuba and contrabassoon, and demanded incredible skill from musicians who had to become virtuosos just to perform the complex, dramatic scores. Romantic composers wanted to tell epic stories, using the orchestra as a cinematic soundtrack. Two major formats thrived: ballet, where stories are told entirely through movement and music, like Tchaikovsky's The Nutcracker, and opera, which functioned like the blockbuster action movies of the 1800s, packed with high-stakes drama and powerful vocal performances. Let's listen to some legendary snippets. We have the sheer drama of Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries, the lightning-fast vocal gymnastics of Rossini's Largo al Factotum, and the sweeping, emotional string sections characteristic of composers like Brahms and Mahler, designed to make you feel like you're being hit by a tidal wave of sound. Let's recap what we've learned about the Romantic era. Think about how music, instrumentation, and performance difficulty evolved during this time. Today you'll be putting this knowledge into practice by choosing and rehearsing one of the parts from The Nutcracker, keeping in mind the different ensemble sizes and technical demands of the music. Now let's focus on the march from Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker. Take a look at the score provided. We'll be breaking this down into 3 parts, each with unique notes and rhythms for you to practice. Get ready to tap your feet and follow along with the melody as we explore the structure of this famous piece. Continuing with the march, notice the progression in the score. Pay close attention to how the notes and rhythms develop across the 3 lines. Even if you're working on a simpler part, staying consistent with the tempo and the specific articulation will make the ensemble performance sound much more professional. We are still looking at the march from the Nutcracker. Focus on the final sections shown here. Ensure you are counting carefully through the rests and paying attention to the markings for rhythm and pitch. Consistency is key when playing in an ensemble, so listen to the others as you play your part. Music is living and evolving. We've seen how romantic composers like Tchaikovsky used the full orchestra, but in 1962, a group called Bumble and the Stingers took that same melody and transformed it into a rock and roll hit called Nutcracker. Your task today is to identify exactly what remained the same and what changed. Use the MAD T-shirt acronym to guide your analysis while listening. Focus on the melody. You will notice the notes themselves remain identical, even though the instrumentation, speed, and overall style have been radically flipped. This is a great way to understand how fundamental musical structures can be reimagined across different genres. Here is a comparison chart for your analysis. Look at how instrumentation shifted from the orchestral sounds of 1892 to the electric guitar and drum kit of the 1962 version. The tempo also changes from a strict walking march to an energetic rock backbeat. Consider how these differences create a completely different experience for the listener. Let's move on to the Waltz of the Flowers. This is another beautiful piece from The Nutcracker. As you review the score, note the triple meter feel common in waltzes. We'll be looking at how this melody is constructed and how you can approach playing these sections accurately during our practice session today. We are continuing our look at the Waltz of the Flowers. Examine the lines in this section of the score. Observe the flow of the melody and how the different parts support the main theme. Keep your focus on the rhythm, as the waltz feel requires a steady, graceful movement to really capture the essence of the piece. This final section of the Waltz of the Flowers score brings us toward the conclusion of the theme. Pay attention to the phrasing and how the music breathes. Whether you are playing the lead or the supporting accompaniment, try to maintain that characteristic waltz lilt. Practicing this will really help solidify your understanding of Romantic-era orchestral dance music. To wrap up our journey, we are looking at The Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. We will compare Tchaikovsky's original, which uses the magical, glass-like sound of the celesta, with a modern, swinging jazz interpretation by Harry Connick Jr. As you listen, analyze how the rhythm and instruments change to give the piece a completely different vibe. Let's examine the score for The Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. You'll notice the staccato, light feel in the melody. As we break this into parts, focus on your individual rhythm and note accuracy, as this piece relies on precision to maintain its delicate, magical atmosphere. Continuing with the score, pay attention to the melodic development. Notice how the phrasing builds and how the different parts interact. Maintaining that steady, light tempo is crucial to capturing the essence of Tchaikovsky's original composition. This section of the score shows the bridge and development, Listen carefully to how the melody evolves and be mindful of your dynamics. Playing with a light, controlled touch will ensure the ensemble sound remains consistent throughout the performance. Moving on to The Dance of the Mirlitons. This piece has a distinct, flute-like character. Look at the score provided and notice the rhythmic patterns. We'll be practicing these in sections, so pay close attention to the markings for rhythm and articulation. In this part of the score for the Mirlitons, observe how the melody shifts. Stay focused on your timing and the interplay between parts. Accuracy here will help create the smooth, flute-inspired texture that Tchaikovsky intended for this lively dance. Here we see the conclusion of the Mirlitons theme. Ensure you are counting through the rests and maintaining the proper tempo. As we transition through these parts, remember that teamwork and listening are essential to making the music shine. Now let's go beyond romanticism and look at the concept of a rhapsody. It's a musical freestyle, lacking strict symphonic rules. It's an epic journey that shifts moods constantly. Composers like Liszt and Gershwin mastered this style to keep their audiences completely hooked. We are comparing traditional folk and modern jazz. Liszt blended Hungarian folk with classical piano, creating an old-world sound. Gershwin fused American jazz and blues with the orchestra for a modern feel. Both transformed street music into grand orchestral works. Both pieces utilize a two-part slow-to-fast structure. As we listen, try to identify the exact moment the tempo and dynamics shift. This switch is the heart of the rhapsody and defines the drama of the performance. Let's begin our listening activity. We are comparing the openings of these two masterpieces. Focus your ears on the dynamics and tempo. How do they set the stage differently? Notice how Liszt's approach differs from Gershwin's urban, jazzy introduction. The world changed rapidly in the 20th century. After the Romantic era, music faced an explosion of new directions, particularly with the onset of World War I. The world wasn't pretty anymore, and composers reflected that shift through new, complex musical structures. 20th century composers split into camps. Some embraced serialism, a math-based system for notes that sounded futuristic intense. Others, like Stravinsky, broke all the rules. His Rite of Spring was so aggressive and rhythmic that it famously sparked a riot during its premiere. Where does the 90-piece orchestra live today? It thrives in film scores and video games. Composers like John Williams used the same orchestral tools as the Romantics to heighten the drama of space battles or epic boss fights in games like Elden Ring. We are heading toward the future of production. Orchestras are increasingly being joined by DAWs, digital audio workstations. One person can now sequence a full orchestra from their computer. It's an exciting time, but it brings us to a big question about the value of live performance. Finally, think about this. If a computer can mimic an orchestra perfectly, is there still a point to playing in a live ensemble? What human element does playing together provide that code simply can't capture? Consider this as we look toward our next project.